Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of SISTAS on BET. We're on season 5, episode 2, entitled My Boyfriend's Back. So let's just jump right into it. So we pick back up at the airport where Danny and Cowboy were talking, Preston. And Danny's pretty much speechless. She really cannot believe that he had the gall to give her this ultimatum of sorts. And so she tells him, like, listen, this is basically a lot to process. Like, you never mentioned this girl, you never said anything about her. So basically, go do what you want to do. I don't know what you want me to do about it, essentially. But she's also fighting back tears at the same time. And she's trying to act as if she don't care what he does. And also, to add insult to injury, not only do you give me an ultimatum, either I tell you don't go or you're gonna go marry this lady who loves you more than you love yourself, essentially. But you're doing this at my job while I'm on the clock. So Danny's trying to compose herself because you at my job. I don't want to tell you to go to hell or cry or whatever emotion that she's trying to compose. She can't do much of anything because she's at work. And she works at the customer service desk. So it's like, customers are coming and going. And, at any moment, her boss, anybody could walk up. So, again, she's like a rocket between a rock and a hard place. There's not much. She can't get too deep into the situation at this moment. And so she was like, listen, just go do what you want to do. I'm at work. What do you want me to do? You know what? Go do whatever it is that's going to fulfill your heart. And just go. Just like, and again, she's fighting off tears because she's getting an emotional reaction. But who wants to make that sort of life altering decision by way of your hand being forced to do so? I don't. It just, again, it's not sitting well with me. I don't really like it at all. But he took that as a yes to go ahead and marry the other girl. She sends him away. She's like, just Preston, go. Just go ahead and go. Go do what you want to do. Go marry that girl. Just go away from me with this, Apollo. All right. So another man was at the airport last episode. Him and his baby child's mom they were trying to catch an emergency flight to go wherever their son is because he was sick. And she had the attitude with Danny, and she was like talking cash shit, like, B word, you need to change my flight, you need to sit us together, like really just talking big shit to Danny. And Danny, she gonna go toe to toe with you. And so that was settled last episode. And so the man comes back up to the counter and he sees that she is between in tears or whatever. He gives her a napkin, and he tells her, like, listen, me and my baby mom, or my child's mother, we were in love at one point. We were young. Just giving her a little bit of backstory in the meantime, just making small talk because he sees that she's upset. And she over there sleep. She drunk as hell. She over there sleep, waiting on their flight to get ready to take off. And he tells her, like, you'll find the right guy. And they're just trading small talk. And he gives her a little smile during that time when she was upset. But not only does he give her a smile, he gives her his number. He's like, listen, we can get together only if you want to. And then they commence to getting on the plane. Wonderful. Theatrical. Tyler Perry-esque. Because not you fresh off a heartbreak and this man is giving you his number. Sir, if you don't get on this plane and go see about your sick son, that should be your main priority. But you out here trying to give out your number. But I digress. All right, moving right along. Karen and her mama are still at the hospital, and mama is going to go find the doctor to see what the issue is. And then mom runs into Pam outside in the hallway. And Pam is glad that she's there because Pam had went ahead and closed the shop down early, the hair salon down early, so she can get back to Karen because she didn't want to be there by herself. And she's like, okay, you're here, so why don't you just tell her you're here and I'm going to go ahead and go because I know she got an attitude and I don't want my head chopped off. So, and mom's like, girl, just go in and tell Karen you about to leave. It'll be fine. However, before you go, I got a question. So mama asked Pam, like, what's really going on? Like, it's a lot of shit going on and Karen has not told me anything. And Pam, she tries to play a little coy at first, but then Pam commences to spilling the tea. Oh, well, Karen don't really know who the baby daddy is. She's just buying time with Aaron in the hopes of getting back with Zach. Blah, just giving the whole spiel, just giving Lisa all of Karen's business. And so she was like, well, I ain't one to gossip. You ain't heard it from me, but this is what's really going on. And so Pam goes back in with Karen, and she asks, and Pam asks, wait, She asked Pam. Okay. And then Pam goes back in, and then Karen asks her, like, did you call anybody? Mind you, Pam was like, listen, I took care of the salon. I just wanted to come back and, let you know that things are okay. And, I love you. We're good. We're going to get this figured out. And so her immediate response is, oh, did you tell anybody we was here? She was like, no, but Andy and Aaron came by. And so Karen is, her mind's all over the place. She doesn't know what she wants to do in this moment. And she was like, well, listen, call them and tell them to come here, but don't tell, basically the baby daddies, potential baby daddies, call them and tell them to come up here, but just don't tell them I told you. I don't know why that would be important. Either you want them there or you don't, but girl, whatever. All right, so Zach and Fatima gets home from their date or whatever, and Pam calls him and tells him that Karen's in the hospital, and she wants you there, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you not coming? And he's like, no, aren't you there? Isn't her mom there with her? Yeah, okay, then she's good. I don't need to be there. And so Pam is telling him, like, oh, if Tim got you on lock, you can't come see about your potential child, whatever. And Zach, Fatima has said nothing, not a word at this point. She's just sitting there listening, minding her business. And then so Zach is like, listen, I don't want no parts of it. She's gonna be all right. Y'all got it. We're good. And so, he hangs up, and Fatima tells him, like, are you sure that that's what you want to do? Like, you don't want to go check on her. We beefing right now a little bit or whatever, but you need to go check on her, make sure everything's okay. And, which is fair. I mean, if she's bleeding, it could be potentially something wrong with your potential child. So cool. But we don't know who the baby daddy is right now. So also understandable on Zach's part. What I will say and what I put in my notes in this section is that Fatima is much more palatable on this show. If you are watching the spin-off Fatima, which I'm not going to be reviewing because I got enough to review at this point. But Fatima is much more palatable, much more realistic, much more understanding over here. And I don't know if it's because she only has, I won't say she's a minor character, but she's not one of the main, core group of girls in this thing. So we don't get a full gist of who she is as a person. But I feel like on Fatima, the spinoff with her and Zach, I don't know. It's like they kind of want her to be like a street fighter. Like, I can see where the series is going. She's going to be fighting all the girls that Zach comes into contact with throughout this whole thing. And for me, it's going to be exhausting. But because I enjoyed this particular franchise, I'm going to watch it. Like I said, I'm not going to review it because I can see it being stressful already. But, so all to say, Tima's much more palatable. She's much more logical and understanding on this particular series as opposed to Fatima, and that's gonna be a lot. Also, like I said, let's just get and finish it. He still doesn't want to go. He wants to continue enjoying his evening with Fatima, and that's reasonable at this stage of the game. Then the next door neighbor, Deja, her music is too loud, and so they have to call her and tell her to turn the shit down because it's too loud. Now, this is a little feed-in from Fatima because Deja is renting the townhouse next door that Zach also owns. But Deja is a stripper that has been pushing up on Zach when he got drunk, when him and Fatima had an argument at some point, in the intermingling of these two different franchises. So Deja is the girl next door from the Fatima franchise that is now bleeding into the SISTAS franchise. It's a lot. It's a lot. I was so confused for a second. I really had to go back to my TV guide and be like, which one am I watching? Because, they mentioned Deja, and I'm like, she's supposed to be a character over here in another series, but, in true Tyler Perry fashion, it's going to spill over into the other one. All right. So Andy calls Gary, and he thanks her for, being logical and level-headed today, even though he was upset and he asked to see her tonight. And she was like, I don't know about that, but I'm going to let you come through, but only if you do one favor for me. All right, what's the favor? I saw in a movie where a couple wrote down all the good traits and bad traits associated with their relationship on a piece of paper. And I've already made my list, and we'll compare lists when you get here. Child, why? You done wrote your list. You done wrote your list. What was the point of getting his list? He was about to sue you and take you for all you had just today ago. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't. I just really hope in my spirit that it's just a part of a bigger scheme to just crush Gary, but I doubt it because I'm not sure that Andy has the capacity to do so. Um, and so he's going to be over there later. And then Danny calls her and asks her if she is seen or heard from Sabrina. Of course, we know she has not seen or heard from Sabrina. And then Andy asks her, like, hey, have you seen or heard from Karen? And we know that nobody has heard from nobody at this particular point. So she tells Andy about the guy that was investigating Sabrina and that may have something to do with it. And in true Andy fashion, she is in denial, but she agrees to make some calls to see if, maybe somebody knows where Sabrina is. And Danny realizes, like, okay, there's a lot going on that we should be concerned about, but you got a little joy in your spirit. You got a little pep in your step. What's going on? So Gary then came back, then kind of creeped back in, and Andy's got her little pep back in her step, and Danny has picked up on it, but Andy don't want to concur the assumption, not at this point anyway. And what I will note is that while everybody feel like Danny is just the substance friend that just be getting high all the time and trying to fight people and be putting shit on the table, Danny has shown in season after season that she is the call to action friend. Let me tell you what I mean by call to action friend. Every time somebody goes missing or somebody can't be heard from or there's just too much tension in the air, Danny gonna call a meeting. Danny gonna blurt it out when everybody else is trying to skirt around it, or she gonna put out an APB and be like, listen, we can't find this person, we need to know what's going on. That type of person. She's a call to action type person. Why she gonna talk shit the whole time? She's a call to action type of friend, and she's a woman after my own heart. I can get jiggy with it. All right. So Aaron shows up at the hospital, and Pam's sitting here wondering, like, how do you know we were there? And I thought that when I thought Fatima or Zach was going to call him, turns out they didn't. So at this point, we still don't know how he got the information. But he finds Karen on his own at the hospital, and she is not excited to see this man at all. Mind you, the only man that was willing, that went through whatever means he went through to get her, to find her, to be by her side for a potential baby. She don't want nothing to do with it. She kind of low-key got an attitude. How did you know I was here? And he said he got a text from somebody. She assumed. She didn't give him an opportunity to verify, to say yay or nay on who the person is. She made an assumption and she assumed it was Fatima, because Fatima works with Andy, and somehow because she works with Andy, she was able to get Aaron's information and send him this text message about something that doesn't really involve her directly. Okay. So she calls them, and Fatima insists that he, mind you, all right, so this is what she gets thick, right? So she calls Zach. She's calling back to back, and Fatima insists that he answers the phone. And he's like, listen, I know it's going to be some drama because it's Karen. Let it rest. We just, again, going to keep enjoying our evening. And she insists that he answer. And she was like, maybe something's wrong with Karen. Maybe they're calling back. You should answer. All right, cool. So they answer the phone, and Karen's going off on Fatima. She's calling everybody all type of bitches and hoes and all these other things. And nobody really has time for it at this particular moment. So, yeah. And then once that whole fiasco is over, Karen kind of flips out on Aaron and wants him to leave. And then Mama comes in and tells her, like, listen, the doctor's on his way back, but you need to relax. I'm looking at your vitals and your blood pressure is going up. So I need you to relax. And so Mama is telling Aaron, like, listen, you got to go. Y'all got to figure this out later. She needs to be stress-free. There's a lot going on. So you need to go. While all of that is helpful, while all of that is wonderful, I appreciate you, Mama. All that is wonderful, but Karen's kind of stressing herself out. Karen's kind of she's kind of doing it to herself. Nobody told you to make no assumption that Fatima told Aaron where you was at, or none of that. You just went on and on and on for nothing. So you got your own blood pressure up, but I guess that's your mama, and that's that's a mama's prerogative. But girl, it was too much. It was too much for me. All right. Gary gets to Andy's, and she is like a schoolgirl looking at her first crush. She just is giddy and smiling as she want to be, and they just having small talk. And she was like, "What were you thinking, trying to sue me?" And he ain't really got an answer. And he's like, "All right." She's like, "Okay, cool. So where's your list?" And he's embarrassed because he knows that hers is much longer and much crazier than his is. And his list is about 3 things. And she was like, and he's like, "Listen, there's not much that's on there because there's not much that Andy has done to you. All the files in this thing has kind of been one-sided. Like, it was just one thing after another, after another, after another when it comes to Gary. So, of course, her list is not very long. And so he reads her list, and it's It's definitely longer as far as the cons is concerned. He's controlling, he's manipulative, he's all these things, whoop de whoop de whoop. And she says, okay, cool. Now that you have the information, how can we ever be in a relationship knowing that you have all these cons that you bring to this situation? And you're gonna try to change them. I know you'll make a million promises, a million I'm sorry's, and we'll keep going back and forth in the same, thing we've been in forever. So, you've made the same promises a lot. And I know that you can't make me happy, so this is it. Again, I'll give you everything back tomorrow as predetermined. Mind you, we've already had this conversation at the office at work earlier, but we need to have it again, right? Okay, Mr. Perry. I see what you're doing. All right. So now he's worried about if somebody else is coming over, which is none of your business. She done put the curtains up so you can't use your telescope to spy on her, so it really ain't none of your concern. So she asked him to leave. She asked him to leave, like, okay, we've established what's going to happen with the property in the car and blah, blah, blah. Now you need to go ahead and go. And Gary starts to get undressed, child. He going to remind her of one of the pros that's on the list. We know what the pro is, right? And so they, get down to grown folks' business. And she is now drawn back in to the shit show that is Andy and Gary. All right. So the doctor finally shows up and the bleeding has stopped and there's nothing wrong at all with the baby. We breathe a sigh of relief. We're good to go on that. But she does need to be on bed rest for a few weeks because her iron and her blood pressure are not in a good zone. And of course, Mama Lisa's going to see to it that she gets this rest so she can bake this baby in a healthy way. And for some reason, Karen is like, she don't want to hear that she's on bed rest and that she needs to relax and settle down. She's like rolling her eyes and she don't really want to hear what the doctor got to say. But if it's up to her mama's going to make sure she gets the rest so she can sit her ass down somewhere and calm down, which is what she needs some calm in her life at this point. All right. So back at Zach's. Fatima has developed an attitude, mind you. She made him answer the phone. She was trying to force him to go to the hospital, all with good intention, all with grand intention. But she has an attitude because Karen, called with the bull crap earlier. And now Zach, he's just pissed off because like, dang, we had a good afternoon. And then Fatima calls with this stuff. Now I'm mad. Like, I'm about to go to the hospital and I'm about to set everybody straight. I'm tired of y'all playing with me like I'm some sort of punk. Y'all need to cut this shit out. Like, it's too much drama. I'm going to the hospital and I'm set Karen straight. And he had me laughing because in this moment, I felt like he improvised and the production, they just left it in because he's going to tell Fatima. Fatima was like, I'm finna go to bed. I don't care what you do. I'm going to bed. You need to handle that and we'll figure this out later, right? And so Fatima lays down on the pillow and he was like, Fatima, you're not going to sleep. You still got that wig on and that makeup. You're not going to bed, so stop lying. And that joke was so funny. Fatima was half face covered and she was laughing. So that was a little comedic relief in the seriousness that is this episode. So he's pissed. He putting his shoes on. He get ready to go to the hospital to give Karen yet another piece of his mind. So he calls Pam and he's like, Pam, is Karen still at the hospital? And she's like, no, she went home. He's like, okay. And Pam's like, why do you want to know? Pam, don't worry about it. She was like, okay, I ain't worried about it. I just don't want y'all to end up, I just don't want y'all to end up having sex this time. So you need to be careful. I mean, which is a reasonable warning considering the fact that they ended up in a compromising position. The last time he went to give her a piece of his mind, he gave her a piece, all right. It might not have been his mind, but he definitely gave her a piece. All right. Danny shows up at Maurice's and Maurice ain't home. Calvin tries to call him to see if he can reach him because ain't nobody been able to reach him or Sabrina all day. And he hadn't heard from Sabrina either. And then she tells him about what her investigator friend said about the bank robbery. And he tells her, like, listen, I'll call you if I hear something. You let me know. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But in this moment, I figured Calvin is a little bit special. A little bit slow to the punch. Because why didn't you put two and two together? Maurice, Sabrina, bank robbery, investigation. That's one sentence. You got those 4 clues, right? And then you got Q, acting suspicious, he talked to Maurice when ain't nobody talked to Maurice. There's a connection. Q supposedly already went to jail for the crime of bank robbery, the same bank that Maurice and Sabrina works at. So, two and two ought to tell you, well, hell, Q not in jail, but they in jail. The hell's going on? All right, cool. Maybe he's gonna figure it out next week because we do see where Calvin finally whooped some ass successfully. So we'll just hope that that's what happened. All right. Zach goes to Karen's house and her mom answers. And she's like, listen, what do you want? She sleeps, she on bed rest. You're not getting in here today, so we're going to have to figure this out later. Zach's like, you're right. Like, I don't want no beef, I don't want no problem. But I'm going to ask you a favor. Maybe you could talk to her because I've told her, time and time again that it's over. I got somebody else. We're done. And she doesn't want to accept it. So maybe you can get through to her in a way that I have not been able to do so. And so now Mama's kind of looking like, okay, I'll talk to her, but as for tonight, you go ahead and go home. We're not gonna be able to get into it today. All right. And so he's like, because if the baby is mine, we're gonna have to figure it out. And she's like, okay, I understand, but it's just not tonight. We'll just let her rest, and we'll handle it later. Which, all right, everybody's got good points. Reasonable, I guess, at best. All right. Danny shows up at Andy's because she's on this hunt. She's trying to find Sabrina. She's trying to find Maurice. Nobody knows where she's at. She's just exhausting our options. She pulls up on Andy. She gets off the elevator, and who on the elevator, body rocking, knocking boots? Gary and Andy. And she just can't believe it. She is outdone, as am I, Danny. Because how did we get here? How did we get here yet again? I mean, I know how, but how did we end up here? Yet this man was just about to let's just say, he was about to attempt to take you for all that you are worth, and y'all end up knocking boots again. It just can't. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted with those two also. So that really pretty much summed up episode 2. Not a whole lot going on. It drags on a little while. We also in season 5, so the action is kind of few and far between as far as these type of shows go. Anyway, in the upcoming episode 3, we see that one of the good girlfriends down to the bar is going to tell Calvin exactly what happened to Maurice and Sabrina, and he's finally going to start putting 2 to 2 together. Karen still don't know who the baby daddy is or what she wants to do with the situation, and like I said earlier, Calvin finally beats some ass successfully. It looks like he punches the hell out of Q, hopefully in an attempt to get him out of their apartment because he's figured out that Q probably has something to do with Maurice and Sabrina being locked up. All right. That is it for season 5, episode 2 of SISTAS. Let me know what y'all think about the episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.